The government, the Prime Minister of Grenada, before him come announce this project named Pivot, the Prime Minister of Grenada had a project early September 2024 called Pivot. And then in come October, come and talk about film government a Pivot. Me tell you, so the man is a copycat, you know.
As we welcome 2025 with all the new opportunities and possibilities it promises, we give God thanks for sparing our lives to see yet another year, and we spare a thought for those who left us in 2024. 2024 tested our resilience, but it also revealed our strength. We faced challenges with courage and celebrated achievements with pride. Category 4 Hurricane Beryl badly damaged southern parishes. However, we staged the fastest and most comprehensive recovery from a weather event of that magnitude in Jamaica's history. Within weeks of the disaster, your government was able to conduct assessments rapidly and distribute recovery grants of significant amounts. To date, just under 14,000 checks have been delivered to beneficiaries. There is no question that this administration has had to deal with some of the greatest crises and shocks to have impacted the country in the last 100 years. A pandemic, global inflation and supply chain crisis, climate change, generated crises and associated hurricanes, tropical storms, flooding, and drought. Any truthful observer must admit that we have handled these crises comparatively better than previous governments, and on par, if not better, than governments of peer countries regionally and even globally. We can be certain that 2025 will bring its own set of multiple, frequent, intense, and overlapping crises and challenges as global temperatures continue to rise, wars continue to drag on, and the global order becomes more uncertain. Rest assured that your government is preparing, constantly improving, and learning from every challenge to develop smart, caring, and sustainable responses. Early this month, I will receive the Disaster Risk Management Review Report, which I commissioned after the passage of Hurricane Beryl. This will form the basis for a complete overhaul of the disaster preparedness and crisis management apparatus of government. The lesson we take away from the 2024 chapter in our journey is that we must be ready for the next external economic shock, geopolitical crises, pandemic, or natural disaster. We have had several significant achievements in the 2024 chapter. Notably, the strategy of long-term investments in equipment, personnel, intelligence, and leadership in our security forces is paying off handsomely. Serious crimes are down approximately 14%, and murders are down approximately 18%, the second consecutive year of reduction. Our economic performance continued to be strong. Unemployment declined to the lowest in our history. Inflation declined well within the targeted band of 4 to 6%. Interest rates have come down steadily. Our dollar has been trading stably over the past year, and our national debt to GDP ratio is set to fall below 70%. This is the lowest in over 30 years. Our infrastructure program for highway construction, water supply, broadband, parks, housing, hospitals, health centers, police stations, fire stations, and urban centers is incomparable to any other era in Jamaica's independent history. Our social safety net programs have been significantly increased in terms of resources, up to 30%, targeted to the most vulnerable. We have more than doubled the minimum wage, further increased the income tax threshold, executed the first ever reverse tax credit giveback, and we have increased the pay of public sector workers by over 200 billion Jamaican dollars. These achievements are phenomenal and uncontestable. However, We also hear and pay close attention to the feelings and realities of many Jamaicans who have suffered through the global spike in inflation over the last 3 years due to the COVID pandemic and the supply chain shock. Food, electricity, transportation, medication, and other basic amenities have become unaffordable for many. I hear your cry regarding the cost of living. Though the number of Jamaicans employed is at the highest it has ever been, the minimum wage has been increased, and wages generally have increased. We understand that wages have been so low for so long that there is still pent-up pressure, despite the efforts of the government to create the economic environment where more Jamaicans can have income and inflation is controlled. On the flip side, the economy has created more Jamaicans with income to effectively demand goods, such as cars and housing. The number of vehicles on our roads has almost doubled in the last 8 years to over 500,000. The housing market has not been so responsive to the increasing number of Jamaicans who are seeking housing solutions in the lower income to lower middle income segment of the housing market. I hear the cry of the hairdresser, the mechanic, the clerks, and factory supervisors who have been contributing to the NHD for years but cannot find a house for the mortgage for which they are qualified. And equally, I hear the cry of the motorists about the damage to their vehicles and the time in traffic due to poor road conditions. Now, it's not just the cost of living that has gone up, but the cost of doing business has also increased. And this is not only because of the impact of inflation. Much of the increased cost is the cost of government regulation, some imposed by international obligations, but much of it is caused by the inefficient and antiquated government bureaucracy. I hear the cry of the small business and medium-sized business owners who are struggling under the heavy weight of bureaucracy. Now, as we close the 2024 chapter, we will build on the successes we have achieved, but more importantly, we will take what we have learned and the challenges expressed by our people and write the next chapter in Jamaica's prosperity story, the 2025 chapter. This year, as I've already signaled, the government will pivot to a laser focus on growth. Growth is important to increase revenues and income, but more important, increasing output efficiently can reduce the cost of the output to you, the consumer. This is particularly true for agriculture. The Minister of Agriculture was tasked last year to develop a plan to boost agricultural production for the most consumed staples and protein in our local food basket.
Producer cut it himself. The producer said this him can't bear this. Jamaica, before I go to Mark Golding.
Help. We key out of the lateral.
The Jamaica that the Prime Minister presented, any are you living in it? The Jamaica that the Prime Minister just presented to you, any are you living in it? Me I go ask you know, me want to any are not living in the Jamaica that him just present to you? Me want to ask you again, Jamaica, because it is the duty of the people to come to the reality. Any are you living in the Jamaica where the Prime Minister just present? People. The man says he has heard your cry. Him say him hear the cry of the hairdressers, the mechanics, the factory supervisors. Him says the year to pivot. You know when get the idea name pivot? The government, the Prime Minister of Grenada, before him come announce this project named Pivot, the Prime Minister of Grenada had a project early September 2024 called Pivot. And then in come October, come and talk about film government a Pivot. Me tell you, so the man is a copycat, you know. The man say, yeah, under film government, the amount of vehicles on the road has doubled over the last 8 years to over 500,000. But he fails, Jamaica, to tell you the truth, that even though more people have vehicles, what are those people spending on those vehicles when them bumper mash up, tire mash up, because of the bad old them with film government create with the man. I can't come to the reality, Jamaica. The man dry eye bad. The man dry eye very bad, Jamaica. I mean, I talk about little bad. Plenty bad. The man dry eye. But who are we, Jamaica? You think that things bad? Prime Minister, you hear the situation with what happening in the country. Producer, make him know how bad the economy is now. Remind him how bad the economy is.
So you see who was right about the economy? All the apologists. The Statistical Institute is now telling us that the decline is even deeper than the Planning Institute of Jamaica projected. The economy is down by 3.5% during the third quarter. The goods producing sector down by 7.2% and the services sector down by 2.2%. So you see, that is what we have been telling you. Data driven, not apology. Yeah, worse than we even thought. Mining down by 17.4, agriculture down by 12.5, construction down by 3.3, manufacturing down by 4%. Transport, storage and communication was up by 2.5, finance and insurance up by 0.8, producers of government services down by 0.5, wholesale and retail down by 3, real estate and renting down by 3.2, electricity and water 5.8, hotels and restaurants, which are a proxy for the tourism sector, down by 6.2%. Other services down by 6.5%. Bad policies. We need a change in policy.
You hear where Ralston Hyman said? Bad policy. Who make policies? It's not the government it's not the people who make policies. It's the government that make policies. So whatsoever policies this government has been making has caused the economy to be in a constant decline. The policy of nepotism, the policy of corruption. So when I hear your Prime Minister talking about the Jamaica when talk about, I don't know if me or you live in that, because the government, the way how him talk about Jamaica, it sound like Dubai.